So what do you see? What's the future, the near term and the longer term future that you envision for Bitcoin?
Oh my gosh. This thing's going to hundreds of thousands of dollars per coin, Charles.
No.
How many Bitcoins does it take to get some goddamn respect in this town?
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, if we have a look at what Bitcoin has been doing, it's really just been chugging along sideways, but you can see we are continuing to put in these higher lows, right? And it does kind of look like we're starting to curve up right here. Now, we haven't really been able to break out of this range right here. We're still having difficulty getting above the $38,000 area, but again, we are still in what I would believe to be a positive price structure, even if we were to have some form of a pullback. Now, a lot of people recently have been attributing this Bitcoin price action to just the ETF excitement and the fact that the ETF is going to get approved and all this money is going to be, flowing into the crypto space. But there's actually something much bigger that a lot of people probably don't actually realize. And I want to go into that today specifically because there's something happening right now and we have to talk about it, guys. It is a massive, massive shift. I want to show you also one of the craziest Bitcoin charts right now. And this is going to shock you because a lot of people were looking at that sort of mid-cycle rally between the 2017 and 2020 era. And my goodness, when you see this and how things are playing out, it's actually mind-boggling. In fact, we're going to show you a chart today. And you know how they say usually history, it usually doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes? Well, when I tell you guys that it is literally repeating right now, Bitcoin has done this pattern literally consistently, and this is going to blow your mind when you see what could potentially happen. And I'm just telling you guys, people are probably not ready for this. And also, if you're wondering why today's video is very long, well, it's because I actually have a special guest on today. If you guys know Eric Krown, he's an OG, he traded on New York Stock, ARCA, all this other stuff, and he's going to break down some Bitcoin price analysis that is probably going to blow your mind. So we're going to get into that all today if that sounds good to you. But what I want to start with is right here, this news you may have heard. Yes, Argentina has chosen Javier Milei, who is a pro-Bitcoin and far-right populist figure, as its new president. So does this mean that we might be getting the second country ever to adopt Bitcoin? Well, it could be possible. The election results reflected a significant political shift in Argentina, influenced heavily by Milei's strong opposition to central banks, which he labels as a scam and an instrument for politicians to levy inflationary taxes on the populace. His views have found impact with Argentina's inflation crisis, with the Argentine peso experiencing a staggering 140% annual inflation over the past year. And look at this right here, guys. Look at the Bitcoin to Argentine peso. So obviously we always look at Bitcoin in the US dollar form, but look at this right here. Bitcoin has literally hit an all-time high in the Argentine peso. So literally, this is what I try to explain to people. Over here in the West, we're doing a lot of speculation, right? But over here, you can actually see that Bitcoin actually would have been the better currency to hold. And you're seeing this through a lot of different places. Now, another reason that people are bullish on this is they're saying the significance of having a pro-Bitcoin head of state in a G20 nation, since it could potentially mean more favorable policies for the cryptocurrency industry in the future. And, if you have a look on over here, what's been going on, look at this chart for Bitcoin adoption. It's reached a yearly high of 67.62%. This metric shows the percentage of active addresses that are newly created, and in this case, indicates a surge in new market participants. Now, I know a lot of people out there are saying, well, can't one person just generate as many wallets as they want? Well, yes, they can, but do you think this much of an increase is just from the people who have already been here? I mean, yeah, I generate, a new wallet when I do a Bitcoin transaction. Obviously, if you're using a ledger, for example, it does it automatically, but this is not the same people. This is clearly something happening. And we've seen these Bitcoin whale addresses absolutely growing, right? Now, getting back to the really situation at hand, which is what I'm saying that most people are not realizing, is what is going on in the world, and people are waking up. And I wanted to play this clip from Jack Mallers over on Fox Business. Of course, he's a little eccentric, and some people do have They have an opinion on him. I do feel bad they kind of cut him off at the end, but he really puts into perspective why so many people are turning to Bitcoin, not just, for example, over in Argentina where inflation is out of control, but even here in the West.
So what do you see? What's the future, the near term and the longer term future that you envision for Bitcoin?
Oh my gosh. This thing's going to hundreds of thousands of dollars per coin, Charles. I mean, the US government is in so much debt. The way I think about Bitcoin's price equals technology plus fiat liquidity. So it's going to go up because it's innovative tech and it's better money. But what really shoots it up at a neck-breaking pace is when our government is tens of trillions of dollars in debt and has to roll that debt over. So they got a lot of money to print and financial assets are going to soar. And Bitcoin goes up the most because it's the hardest to make more of. It's over, man. This thing's going to the moon.
You know, so interesting, too, because it's not just the U.S. I was just reading today, globally, these countries, these advanced nations with all this fiat currency are going to have to spend $2 trillion on the interest alone, and they won't stop spending, Jack. They just won't stop spending money, and it's coming back to haunt them, and it's coming back to maybe people realizing fiat currency is not the place to be, huh?
Charles, this would be my message to America. Give me a second on this one. Guys, the U.S. government's got about $10 trillion over the next 2 years to roll over, refinance. That's debt. Our country's in debt. It's a huge problem. They got three options. One, they could pay it back. It's not a real option because we don't got the money. We're broke. Two, our government could come out, Charles, and say, you know what, guys, we screwed up. After World War II, we changed the way money worked. We got off the gold standard. We issued debt all over the place. We got way too cocky. And actually, all of our banks don't have your money. They're insolvent. All the airlines you fly and travel on aren't actually good businesses that should be in business. Healthcare shouldn't actually be free. We screwed up. We piled on so much debt and screwed up the younger generation,
right.
And we're in huge trouble. So we're going to have to let everything fail and reset this country. Now, they're not going to do that, are they, Charles? They have a third option, which is unique to the government. They could print the money that they're missing. And when they print the money that they're missing, they're stealing from all the people that hold US dollars. And so what they'll do, they'll have to do is print dollars. And the only way to save yourself is own not dollars. And that's when you see things like the S&P 500 and gold and Bitcoin soar. And so that's what's going to happen over the next 2 years. They got to print 3 times more than they did during COVID.
I love your enthusiasm, Jack. We're going to bring you back. We really do love your enthusiasm and your message. Thanks a lot for sharing it with us. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, honey.
All right, buddy.
Now, obviously, you could tell that he's pretty excited about it, right? A lot of people say that I get really excited, you know, whatever. And by the way, guys, I actually don't drink coffee. I am naturally like this. If I actually drank coffee, I don't know. I don't even know what would happen. My heart would probably explode. But but that being said, you know, talking a little bit more level-headed, okay? Robert Breedlove, you might be familiar with him. He is a very pro-Bitcoiner over here, and he breaks down how really by printing all of this money, they're actually stealing from you. And this is another reason why more people are turning away from these traditional things. I mean, you're not going to put your money in savings. Why? So you could just watch it erode over time so you have nothing for your retirement. He breaks this down mathematically, and it's really crazy when you think about it in this perspective.
Central banking is an institutionalized system of time theft because ultimately the fruits of your labor are a product of your time or energy, right? Time and energy used synonymously here. We printed $6 trillion in 2020, right, in the U.S. The average annual U.S. salary is $60,000, roughly. That's 100 million years stolen, right, through the counterfeiting of currency. If each human works from the age of 20 to 70, so that's about 50 productive years per human, the counterfeiting of $6 trillion USD equals the stealing of 2 million human lives worth of productive labor. Right? This is to try to make it real, like it's a real massive problem. And then of course the plausible deniability that's built into inflation, right? It's Putin's fault. It's Beyonce's fault. It's the supply chains. It's everything but the central bank. So again, we're back to that romantic lie, the deception and the stealing going hand in hand. I think this is hopefully what we can deliver as Bitcoiners is pulling back the veil on this bullshit.
And speaking about the banks are waking up too. For example, you have Santander Private Bank debuting Bitcoin and Ethereum trading in Switzerland. So this is a bank that's actually offering this. And this is why the tide is shifting. And I know, unfortunately, that we are waiting for the SEC to come out with this Bitcoin ETF. But as Stuart Alderati points out, the SEC is losing in court. They're being criticized by judges for shady behavior, being rebuked by the government's internal auditor, hiding info about meeting with a felon, becoming irrelevant on the international stage. Gensler, admitting no fault, has become the insolent Colonel Jessup. If you guys have seen the movie A Few Good Men, I think you can get the reference. But yeah, ultimately, yeah, it does suck that we're waiting on these guys. But at the same time, they are becoming almost irrelevant, and I would think at this point kind of have to pass or approve the Bitcoin ETF to just maybe gain back even an ounce of the credibility that they may have already had, right? So really quick news story, and then I'm going to get to the charts. So this did break this morning. So US is seeking more than $4 billion from Binance to end the criminal case. Now, it does say that CZ could face charges in the US. Now, what's interesting is you noticed that BNB was actually pumping on this news. So, real quick, he did say back when they were asking about 2.1 billion that they would be fine.
Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for $2.1 billion back? Would that be okay? Would you be able to still withstand things?
We're financially okay.
Including you have $2.1 billion to give away. If somebody came to claw that back, you'd still be fine?
We'll let the lawyers handle it. We are financially strong.
So what's another 1.9 billion among friends, right? So is this actually bullish or bearish? Well, it seems like almost at first glance, it's potentially a bearish news topic, but you can see right here, Mike Novogratz points out that Binance settling with the US regulators would actually be super bullish. Not sure if reports are true, but I personally am hoping for a settlement and for the industry to move forward. So in one hand, that's kind of messed up that, basically they're going to be like, forget it. We're going to drop all the charges, just pay the fine. Well, isn't that just how things are, guys? Nobody ever said it was fair, right? So it might be good for the space, hopefully, like I said, I don't really know the truth of the allegations and everything really involved, who even knows what goes on with these crypto exchanges, right? But at the end of the day, it would sort of potentially be a nail in the coffin of more FUD for the crypto space, right? Now, I want to show you guys this insane chart. This is going to blow your mind. So if we have a look right here, look at what CryptoCon pointed out. He said that this is crazy. The last cycle for Bitcoin was bearish. Wait, what? It was bearish? Yeah, check this out. No, really, just look at the data. It made one major move at the beginning of the cycle and then spent years back under the bull market midline on the RR deviation. Even with the fall to 25K, Bitcoin has stayed in a bull market for 2023. Everything about this cycle is more like cycle 2, 2015 to 2018, which means much more consistent gains and possibly even better prices. When you look at it this way, we haven't seen a true bullish cycle in almost 6 years, but we are back now. That's crazy. That is crazy when you think about that. And we've said that this time is different, obviously for a lot of different reasons, right? We have freaking people getting elected in Argentina who are pro-Bitcoin. We have US candidates that are running that are pro-Bitcoin and pro-freedom, right? Or at least so they tell us, right? They always talk a lot before they're elected, but nevertheless, the fact that we're having these conversations, I think, is a massive shift. And we have said that this is much more similar to the cycle that we had in 2015 to 2018. And I still believe that, but I do want to turn it over, guys, to my good friend, Eric Krown. If you guys don't know who he is, you're going to definitely want to stick around. He goes into these insanely in-depth analysis, very specific back tests. I mean, the guy has he makes Google Docs and stuff like that, much more involved than I am, but he actually broke down what tends to happen for Bitcoin in these cycles leading up to the halving, and based on statistics, he was able to actually come up with a legitimate price target. And also, like I said, history, doesn't necessarily repeat, but it often rhymes. Well, wait until you see this chart. So I'm going to turn it over right now. And also my apologies for the not so good quality on my end. He was in Dubai. We were having problems with the VPN and the Zoom. So I apologize, guys, but I think the value of the content is definitely there.
All right, so Eric Krown, it has been quite a long time since you have been on the channel, my friend. I think we are more than overdue. I think most people know who Eric is if you've been following the channel, but maybe you might be new. You got around in the recent run. Eric, elevator pitch. Who is Eric Krown?
Well, first off, man, it's great to be here. It's been a long time and a little bit too long. But as far as who I am, for anyone who just is not familiar with myself, my name is Eric Krown. I used to be a professional market maker on the floor of New York Stock Exchange ARCA. Switched over to crypto in about 2016, 2017 when I realized that I'm not too afraid to admit that crypto looked a little bit easier than traditional markets. And from there, I slowly started to shift over, and that's kind of where I've started off today. As I get a little bit deeper into this space and get into the social medias and whatnot. And here I am.
Yeah, Eric, he actually, believe it or not, Eric taught me a lot. When I was first starting trading, because I used to be like a shit coiner back in the day, and back in the bear market, there was really nothing to do. So I was like, well, I want to learn how to trade, and I had some wins, had some pretty bad losses in the beginning, and Eric actually really helped me to sort of, even though you do have a little bit of a complicated strategy, you actually helped me to simplify my strategy in the sense where I stick with it rather than jumping around. That's a lot of problems that I see with a lot of new traders is something starts working, but then they see something or they read something or hear something, they switch their strategy, and that's when you get into the mud.
Every year, there's a new flavor of the year. Every year,
right?
All the time.
So what I love about your channel is, and we're going to go into the analysis like right away. You got to see how Eric does this. You're very meticulous. You do a lot of back testing. You do a lot of very specific analysis of this happened. What's the percentage? I mean, much more than I do. And I think it would be a really awesome view now that everybody's getting excited. Everybody thinks, oh, we're going back to the moon. So, are we going back to the moon? Eric, like, what are we doing right now? I guess we should start maybe with what are your short-term outlooks? What are you seeing just in the generalized, like maybe in the next couple of weeks or so?
So yeah, my outlook for the next couple of weeks here is more or less just range, as Bitcoin does cool off after a pretty impressive move to the upside, 40% move, let's say. And we did see that volatility did hit some of the highest levels that we've seen over here on the HPDRV, just an indicator representing volatility ranked in a percentile format since the rally that we saw in March. So this is significant, right? And it is very reasonable to expect that there's going to be a period of consolidation after such a move where Bitcoin, trades a little bit to the upside, trades a little bit to the downside, but generally holds this range, which I look to my indicator here called the HPDR bands, which is just a fancy name for an indicator that shows you the probabilistic ranges based off of the historical data and the historical returns. That's essentially what it is, the historical price delta range. Anyways, as far as the current daily range goes, it actually is favoring the BULAs still here, or the bulls, as some people. I got a lot of questions when I said BULAs last time on my video. So it's like, what is the blue laws? Like, dude, where have you been? Anyways, the current range does still step up, so it is still favoring the BULAs here, meaning that this consolidation, likely does lead towards continuation overall, but it could take a couple weeks. So the current range lows about 35,500 versus the current range highs here at about 40, just above 40,000 bucks. That's 40,100. Let's say this area essentially right here is the probabilistic range, the 50% of historic returns range. Now, of course, if Bitcoin were to break below the downside of this range, I would be looking for a flush, probably a quick flush to be fair, somewhere back down to about the $33,000 base. This area right here, very, very important, because as long as Bitcoin's up there, or sorry, above there, I should say, the consolidations within this region still favor, the bulls. And then of course, to the upside, well, we can use a predictive function to kind of get an outlook as what's most likely, or what's like the best case scenario in the next couple weeks or coming into December, what's a worst case scenario. And for that, I'll put on the HPDR bands, which is just, the HPDR cones, which is just a predictive function based off of the historical price delta range. So in this case, as I do, let me actually take this off. There we go. As I do kind of blow it up here, we can see going into, beginning of December or so, we're looking at a range between about, 39,000 versus, 39,000 to the upside versus about 35,300 to the downside. What is that essentially saying? It's essentially saying that we're probably done moving for the month of November, just ranges for right now. And December is where the action likely does occur.
Right. So, but I have a question for you. Now, you mentioned that 33-ish area. Is that the area where you would look to say that's it for the rally? Because there is that fear that we're going to do something similar to what we sort of did back in, the end of 2018 into 2019, where we thought we were back into the bull run. We got back up to 14,000, which we didn't quite get back to 20. And then we started having that sort of downwards, right? So it was like a fake out mid-cycle rally. Is that a possibility that you could be seeing? And are there levels that you would definitely say okay, that was it for this move?
Well, that would be kind of my level where this current move really comes under question in like the long term. But I think that we've kind of already seen that, to be honest with you. When we go back on over here, make no mistake about it, Bitcoin did play out a pretty prolonged sideways consolidation throughout 6 to 7 months or 8 months throughout this whole year. And I think that kind of was what a lot of people are referring to. What I suppose we'll also discuss later is that there is some statistics that do show that it's more likely to continue on with this rally overall before the halving, before some sort of like a major correction does happen. And make no mistake about it, I too am looking for a major correction. Could be to the tune of 30 to 40%. It could be very severe, obviously. But I do think that it probably comes from higher rather than here, where I think maybe more people are looking for. It's just I don't see it from a historical perspective just yet. I can obviously be wrong, but as we'll go over later, statistics are kind of against that as of right now.
So we're not getting our 10K Bitcoin. The Bears aren't going to get that.
Well, it is indeed the biggest bull trap of all time. And bulls are trapped in so much profit. They don't know what to do with themselves. They've done all the cocaine and now they're dead.
That's it. Demonetized. No, my channel's already demonetized.
That's the trap.
So leading into so leading into December, then let's talk about what we can expect. So basically, you're saying higher probability of more sideways throughout this month. What do we think? Where are we ending the year?
Yeah, so December is a really interesting month here for Bitcoin for a couple reasons. Now, I'll first just give you kind of the vanilla analysis, then I'll give you something that's a little bit more nuanced. So on this chart right here, I've marked off all of the prior Decembers in Bitcoin's history. There's been 13 prior Decembers, and there are some interesting stats when you look at the open versus the close, and then as we'll take it a little bit in the future, look at a nuanced version of this as well. But just looking at the basic statistics for this, I found that out of all 13 Decembers, 7 of those did close positively for an average return of about 34.18%. That is interesting to me just in the sense that December was, if it was a positive month, a generally big month. If you look at the returns over here, which is in this column, you can see that almost all of the winning returns were in double digits, except for one in like pretty big double digits too, like 30%, 40%, 50%. We see that a lot of the time. So December is typically a big month. Yes, there have certainly been some, some losing Decembers as well. Obviously, there's 5, let me do my math correctly, 6 losing Decembers, giving it about a 53.85% win rate. But the losses were a lot more muted. They weren't as nasty. There was maybe one outlier month over here in 24, or it was like the 4th December. So I think that was like 2013, 2014, something like that. And that was a loss of 38%. But all of the other ones were, more reasonable in cryptocurrency terms. Obviously, if this was traditional markets, this would be like really really bad.
Oh yeah. Just another day in crypto.
Yeah, just another Tuesday. But ultimately, what can we deduce from this about December? In the event that it is a positive month, meaning that we do see a greater close than the open, it's probably going to be a big month. And if it is a negative month, it might not be as bad. Now, I'll take this one step further because there is a big nuance with this. We saw something this particular year that was of significant interest, and it was this. September was green. And I think a lot of people know the meme where September is, it's always red. And it has been red many times, but there has been 5 times in Bitcoin's history where it was green. And when September was green, the 4th quarter that followed that September was typically very green. And if we go ahead and only look at how December's operated after that September green, 80% of those closed positively. And the average return there was 23.74%. So looking at that, I would say that there's a significantly higher probability of December, continuing with this rally, even though November's probably done. Maybe Bitcoin tries one more short-term move to the upside or something like that, but ultimately a range, I suspect. But December would be the time where I'd really be looking for it to take that next leg up. And that's at the point where, hey, we might be looking at the next major, somewhere around the next major high, because if Bitcoin were to place somewhere around these statistics, which is, above 20% move, what would that look like, assuming that November closes somewhere around here? Well, 20% to the upside puts Bitcoin in the mid $40,000 territory, $45,000. That's not that crazy. That's actually not that crazy, because if we take a Fibonacci retracement on this one, we can also see, or actually if I do this properly, we can maybe see and take it from the closing low. we can see that the 618 comes at about 41,000 bucks and the 786 comes at 52,000 bucks. So anywhere between there, is kind of fair game, as we'll go over in just a bit. I'll pull this all together, just trust me. But this would also be in alignment with the big breakdowns that we saw in 2022 from the bull trap in March and April. So that's a significant area long term. Now, I'll explain why this area in particular over here is relevant, and it has to do with this chart right here. So on this chart, we're now going to maybe get more closer to the question of how high can Bitcoin get before the halving.
Well, that was my question, and it's so crazy that you just said that, because as you were talking, I was saying you're showing all the yeah. Let's see, we're thinking alike. You were showing all the statistics of December, but I was thinking, well, this December is different, right? We have a halving up and coming, but never really in the past did we ever see Bitcoin put in a new all-time high before the halving. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this one? So
okay, I've gone through the past halvings for Bitcoin, and there's something very interesting about them when you measure them out. So I'll just go through them one by one. It might be a little bit boring, but there is a point to it. So we'll start off with this first one over here. All of these green vertical bars represent the halving dates. So this one's November of 2012. And we can see two really important things here. I'll just pull this away for right now. The two really important things are this. Bitcoin puts in a parabolic blow off top. Then it spends, about a year going down, and then it breaks that long-term downtrend, and then it begins that sort of pre-halving rally. You'll notice this first one over here, the highest point that it got to was between the 618 and the 786 fib, the same ones that we were looking at earlier, actually, just right there. And that was, about 273 days after the break of this. And it looks like about half a year before the halving. It's not less important right there. Anyways, we'll move on to the next one. And what do you know? Same thing. Parabolic blow off top, comes all the way down, breaks that long-term downtrend line, and then Bitcoin rallies up right before the halving in this case. Where does it end up? Between the 618 and the 786. Okay. Interesting. Then we go to the next one over here in 2018, 2019. Parabolic blow off top, comes all the way down, breaks a long-term downtrend line. And then where is the high of the rally pre-halving? This one actually happened very quickly. This is the one that you're referencing earlier in 2019. It happens actually right at the 786. So we've never actually seen a pre-halving rally that failed to get above the 618, and most of them get even closer to the 786. So putting that in alignment over here, sorry, I actually did have that properly before. Between the 618 and the 786, that's at that $45,000 to $46,000 number, which is in alignment with these average returns here for December returns when September is green, which I thought was just really, really interesting, because all these numbers they seem to kind of pull back into the next one. So that would be sort of my best case scenario before halving. I guess the next question would be, when does that happen? I guess maybe December, possible, if December does play within those within those bounds, and then I'd probably be looking for Bitcoin to come down severely after that into the halving, and maybe a little bit after as well, and that's when we could maybe see like a 30 to 40% correction. But at that point, let's just say Bitcoin does get somewhere around there. What does 30% to the downside look like? It's $32,500. That's still above this major breakout that Bitcoin saw. Back just a few weeks ago, really, that Bitcoin's been living under for the last year, or more than a year, I should say. So that is significant. 40% obviously brings you a little bit lower, but you get my point. 10,000 might be a little bit unlikely, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no. I get it. I just, we've kind of had a running joke on this channel, and I saw you commented on one of my X posts about all these guys, waiting. And I feel really bad because, the one thing that I like about your approach is how it's very just pragmatic. You're not overly moon boy bullish. You're not overly, doom and gloom bearish. It's essentially just, this is what I'm looking at. This is what the chart is telling me. And I think a lot of the subscribers that watch your channel appreciate that, which is why I actually, I don't really watch a lot of YouTube channels, to be honest. But if I do tune in, I occasionally, once in a while, want to see what Eric Krown is talking about, because I know that you're taking it level by level. You're taking it based on historical, like all the data. I mean, you got a freaking spreadsheet. I don't do that kind of stuff on my channel. And an interesting thing too, I know you're not a fan of the patterns. I know you're not a pattern trader, but if you actually look at the giant falling wedge that we had formed, that also kind of coincides with some of the very similar targets that you're calling as well. And we've sort of had this $47,000 area target, which is really quite interesting.
Actually, yeah, you're right. It's right there at about 45.
Yeah, it's really crazy how they're all like in the same ballpark. So so I guess like another question now that I got you on the screen without the charts up, I wanted to ask you what your opinion, and I know that you're not a news guy, you don't do news, you're just show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. That's more of how your approach is. But this ETF hype is crazy. And, obviously I'm not from the traditional space. I saw what they did with the gold ETF. I saw what gold did after that. Do you actually think that would play out similarly? Is it this big conspiracy by BlackRock, or, is it a big nothing burger? What is your honest take on this potential ETF? And if we did get the approval?
It is a really weird thing, that whole discussion between like BlackRock conspiracy and Bitcoin and whatnot. I don't believe any of that, to be honest with you. I think it's generally a good thing. Bitcoin is being legitimized in the eyes of the traditional world. Some crypto people have big issues with that because it kind of goes against the ethos of, Bitcoin and what it was originally created for. But fair enough. If you want Bitcoin to reach these insane prices, like I think a lot of people are probably interested in or motivated by, let's say, then, that's probably how you want it to be done. I see it as the ongoing infrastructure being built around this whole crypto sphere that started with CME futures in 2018. Everyone said, no, CME is going to destroy Bitcoin. And what happened after that? Bitcoin went, more than 3x above the highs. It's just silliness. People are so focused on the short-term results.
Although they did launch at the top, which was a little crazy in that sense.
It'll always be that way. When the Bitcoin ETF launches, I'm sure it'll mark a local top as well. Just like in the past cycle, Coinbase IPO marked a local top. But that's fine. Long term, it legitimizes it, and it just means that long term, I'm more interested in accumulating on that next downside move, because long term, it's probably not gonna just be some sort of vaporware and fall by the wayside. It's probably gonna, they're putting all these things up because they actually believe in it, and they're just taking their time with it. And, it takes time, and that's just is what it is.
Right. And you said that you got into Bitcoin and you got into it mostly for the trading aspect of it. You like trading it. You enjoyed it. You said it was easy. Is there any part of you that has that sort of belief in Bitcoin, or is it just for you? It's just a way to make more cash, or do you also believe in maybe holding Bitcoin for the long term? I mean, do you have any of those types of views, or you don't care anything geopolitically, nothing about that? I just trade to make money. Like, what is your view on Bitcoin?
When I first came over to the sector for like the first 2 to 3 years, I was kind of that opinion where it's like, this is just a vehicle to trade to make more money. And that did work out decently. But when I compared my results to what I would have done if I would have been acting as like a more long-term investor, I was really humbled to learn that, okay, I should be investing. Investing, you can trade alongside your investment accounts, of course, but you want to have a core position, or at least I want to have a core position, because as time goes on and as it gets more legitimized, I start to become a bigger believer. For me, Bitcoin makes a lot of sense, especially with the upcoming generations who are all digital, and they're going to look at gold, a rock, as like less tangible than something on the internet, because that's just what they grew up with. Like, we're probably, I'm guessing you're around the same age as me, and we're probably the last people to grow up without internet. In our childhood, we went outside and things like that. It's kind of crazy back in my day.
Back when we used to do things like, it's crazy. It's like, I've seen the whole, I went from having nothing to the tape player, to the CD, to the VHS, to the, to the stupid Nokia phone, to nowadays, kids don't even know. Like, if you, like, younger generations, like, if they hear the phone, the sound, the phone ringing, they don't know why that sound exists on their iPhone. Like, why are they choosing that ringing sound? It's like, because you didn't even grow up in a house with a rotary or with an old cord. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you that it is the future. So before we go, I just wanted to obviously mention the fact that we do have a pretty interesting Signal product that is launching. And, full transparency, Eric and I are in fact investors. And usually, if you follow either of us, we're never into promoting paid groups. It's something I've never charged anything for my channel. As far as you following me, I've always encouraged people to learn how to trade. I think the best way is, lose some trades, win some trades, and use your own analysis, stick to your own. Like I said, people that flip-flop is when you tend to kind of make a lot of mistakes. But this indicator specifically, or the signals, I should say, it was brought to my attention. I was skeptical. I looked at it and I was incredibly shocked to see the success rate of this. Some of them, most of them averaging between, somewhere between 78% to 84%, which is incredibly high when you're trading. I mean, if you're winning 3 out of 4 trades, that's a pretty good edge, which is what I believe this is sort of designed to do. But I wanted to hear your perspective on it, Eric, as well, because you were the one that actually brought it to me and said, hey, you should check this out. So I wanted you to kind of explain a little bit from, where you're coming from and why you decided to get behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the best way to explain it is kind of how the idea came about, which about 3 years ago, someone from my community who was using all my tools, like the Joule, like the PMARP, like the RSI, all these sort of different suite of tools, and BBWP, can't forget that one, it's one of my favorites. He came to me and he said, hey man, I'm putting together an automated system for deciphering signals based off of your tools. I'll get back to you soon. And so over the past 3 years, he's been building this damn thing that has essentially been refined many times at this point. I've had a few points of input here and there, but it's mostly been him, just give him the credit. And basically he has come back with this trading system that essentially gives you these automatic sort of, I wouldn't call them signals because that's the wrong way to look at them. And as you said, both of us are not really like signal people. It's more so like it's more so like a data that says, hey, you have an edge here. This is somewhere to, deploy your sort of discernment as far as trading goes. There's something in your favor, basically. And of course, with any sort of tool like this, there's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. There's going to be times when it, does really, really well. There's going to be times where it does not so well, of course. And, more recently, it's been pretty kind, I would say, as Bitcoin, has definitely been giving the returns, especially over this past year, I'd say. But ultimately, I do want to have that main point that, hey, if you're considering something like this, it's not a 100% thing. There's nothing that's 100%. That would be a 100% scam is what it is. And realistically, over the lifetime of the back testing, the real hit rate is probably more in like the upper 60s% when you go through like different market cycles and whatnot, when things, come down super hard. But I like that balances it out. And in my experience and in my opinion, that's still very viable. So anyways, as far as, what it is, I think that we discussed that. Why? Well, when it comes down to it, I think a lot of people, especially in this space, are monitoring a bunch of different timeframes, a bunch of different pairs and whatnot. And so this is kind of just more like a time saver. It says, hey, pay attention over here. If you're trading the 30-minute on Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever within, like, I believe the top 20 market cap coins, then you have some sort of, potential setup to be analyzing and considering. That is the value in something like this, a time saver, something that gives you a probabilistic edge, and then you can deploy your own discernment as to whether it's relevant to you or not.
Exactly. Essentially, so like it basically just takes all of these indicators, it puts them together rather than looking at it on your trading view screen. Once you have that, and again, you hate to use the word signal.
And more importantly, it's putting it together in a system. So it's not just like, hey, like flash over here. It's saying, hey, something's happening over here, which suggests that there is a probability, a higher probability of a move towards this area. And then, maybe a little bit less of a probability, but, still decent over here, so on and so forth. And maybe, depending upon the current volatility environment, maybe, you consider stop losses around here. That's essentially what it is. So, at the end of the day, that is something that I am actually pretty proud to be involved with, because it's been going on for such a long time now. And it's finally ready.
I just wanted to say, as far as the time waiting, I can't believe it's actually funny. You've seen so many of these types of things in the past, and we've almost reached out to, the main developer and been like, hey, I think this thing is good. I think this thing is good to go. And he's such a perfectionist. Yeah, it's like, to be developing this with your own money and using these strategies and back testing them for 3 straight years. And he still doesn't feel that it's good enough. And I'm over here looking at it. And again, like you said, you don't want to take these just for, oh, this signal tells you to do this. But, I've been checking out the Discord. I get the signal. I compare it with my analysis. And then lo and behold, of course, we've been in an uptrend. So you could say maybe that's helping recently. But, this thing, you got to think about it being developed over the past 3 years. It was developed in a bear market, essentially. So it's also been, tested for those downtrends as well. So yeah, I'm quite impressed. And like I said, I don't usually put my name on things like this. I've just been watching it with my own eyes. I've taken some of these smaller trades just to test it out, and I've been extremely impressed. And I think that, like you said, if you're new to trading, I would not blindly just get into this, have some form of experience, but I would use it in addition with the strategy that you're already using. So if you're seeing something on the chart that you're already like, okay, this is my setup, this is usually something I would take, and then you're seeing that confluence from the indicator in the Signals app, whatever, I know you don't want to call it a Signals app, then I think that that's sort of the edge that we're looking to give. Again, I don't want to stress enough of the disclaimer, but obviously, practice on a demo account, don't throw everything. But if you are interested, there is an NFT sale that's coming out in the beginning. These NFTs are going to give you lifetime access. You're also obviously helping to fund beyond the beta. Oh, they call it the beta, but as we said, I think it's done. But the main devs, they still want to tweak it a little bit. So what we're doing right now is
that over time they're going to continue to refine these things as more data comes in. But yeah, as of right now, you can say it's like version 1.
Right. So before they launch the official open public, they are offering the opportunity to get in on the first 2,000 people to get NFTs. Also, they're offering 500 engraves. Free wallets for the first 500 people who sign up. So, obviously you don't have to take it because you're getting a free engrave, but I definitely think you should check it out, guys. The website is metasignals.io, and they will be opening up if you want to get that early access and lifetime access to all the upgrades. They should be doing that. I believe that's Black Friday.
November 24th.
So, yeah. So, yeah, man, I mean, thanks for coming on the channel. I really appreciate everything. And, yeah, it's always a great insight, and I'm really glad. One thing I want to say is I was really happy to see there were all these bears, and I felt like the outcast. I did when I was seeing that sort of from the 15.5, and then we broke 17.8, then we got above that 18.6 level, and then I was like, guys, like this is constructive behavior on a chart, and you were still seeing these 10,000. I heard 3,000 a call, and I was like, look, guys, not financial advice. Don't do anything. Don't do anything that I say, but this, and I don't want to call out any names, but there's still some people out there like, oh, I'm looking ahead to my short. I can't wait. Or like, I think this is a trap. It's like, if it's a trap or if it's not a trap, it went up over 110%. If you sat on the sidelines and cashed the whole time, come on, man. I mean, that's just, I feel so bad. Feel so bad, man. They should have been watching Eric Krown and they should have been watching Crypto Zombie. Just saying, just throwing it out there. So,
bull standing.
But yeah, we love you guys. We love everybody out there. Definitely check out Eric Krown, by the way. If you haven't subscribed, check him out. Amazing analysis. You'll learn a lot from this guy. A little confusing at first, a little overwhelming, but once you start to get the vibe and learn how Eric does it. So I'll drop your link below in the description. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on, and it's a pleasure to be here. And see you next time.
So if you stuck around all the way to the end of the video, give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. And one thing that we actually forgot to mention is, look, I understand because I've been in the same boat. It can be a little, skeptical at first, right? When these new types of products launch, is it really good? So basically what they're doing over at MetaSignals is they're going to offer, and I'll leave the link below, by the way, if you want to check out the Twitter or the website, you can go over on the Discord. And if you join the Discord, which is free, they're going to be giving away some of the alerts, which would be the normal alerts that it will eventually come out when they roll it out in Q1. And they're going to be randomly selecting them, and they're going to have that running until December 12th. So you guys can see real-time, real alerts, and they'll be firing just as they would in the regular group. So that's like 3+ weeks that if you want, you can test this out absolutely free. See if you like it. If you like what you see, if you're having good results, then maybe you want to consider getting early access, or you can wait for the version to officially launch. If not, guys, no problem at all, right? But we're just trying to show you so you can test it yourself, because we've been testing it and the success rate has been pretty incredible. So that's it for today, guys. Again, obviously you guys know nothing on this channel is financial advice. You don't have to buy anything from me. We don't have any paid groups, nothing like that. At the end of the day, guys, just dollar cost average, learn to trade on your own. That's fine. But, this product has been developed for a while, and it does have a pretty good edge if you're interested. That's pretty much where we stand on that, but you guys rock. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. What a long video today. I love you guys. You're awesome. So until next time, stay crypto. And of course, if you do want to learn how to trade, check out these tutorials popping up right here, right now. These are absolutely free. You can practice on demo accounts. I love you. You're awesome. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.